Hi guys, we are ready for our final lesson of Unit 3, and today we're going to be continuing that fraction of problems, part 2. We're going to be able to solve fraction of problems with fractional answers to continue building our readiness for multiplying, and we're also going to apply and extend previous understandings of multiplication and division. So we have this warm-up here, and it says to solve the following problem. So we have 5 different problems available for us. And I want to start by just looking at this first one, 1/2 of 8. Well, we know 1/2 of 8 is 4. So that's one that you should be able to do in your head. Okay. The 1/3 of 12 is another one that should be fairly easy, thinking about what we did on lesson 13. If we think of taking 12 and breaking it down into groups of 3, into 3 groups, we know each group would be worth 4. Okay, so that gives us that 1/3 of 12 would equal 4. Now, moving on to the next 3, it's a little bit more challenging because we aren't working with even numbers here. So we want to think of, all right, 1/2 of 9 is this one right here. I cannot do half of 9. I can do half of 8, and I can do half of 10, okay? So I can do half of 8, and I can do half of 10. This is where like benchmarks really help. So if we do half of 8, we know that's 4. If we do half of 10, we know that is 5. So what would be in between there? What would be half of 9? Well, that would be 4 and a half, or 5 halves. Okay, so same thing with 1/3 of 13. We know 1/3 of 12. Do we know 1/3 of 14? I'm not sure. Can I take 3 things and multiply it together to get 14? No. But we can do 1/3 of 15. Okay, so we know 1/3 of 12 is 4, and we know 1/3 of 15 should be 5, because 15 divided by 3. So then you're going to have 13 and you're going to have 14 in here. So we know both of these are going to be somewhere between 4 and 5 because they fall in between that. Okay, so what we can do with these, let me make some equal problems here. It's looking very messy today. What we can do here is with the 13, we know we're going to do 1/3 of 13, or 13 thirds. Okay, and we know that it can go in there 4 times and with 1/3 left over. Okay, so if 1/3 of 12 is 4, 1/3 of 13 is 4 and 1/3. 4/3 of 14 would probably, I'm going to do an estimate. I'm going to do a conjecture actually. I'm going to guess 4 and 2/3. I'm going to do 4 and 2/3 there. So we can guess that. We know that it'd be 14 thirds, or 14 divided by 3. Okay, and so I know that 3 can go into 14 4 times, and that's 12. That gives us 2 out of 3 left, which connects to what I said over here, 4 and 2/3. I want to show you too, before we move on, we can check this. Okay, we can make sure that these do in fact equal. Remember, we can take 3 times 4. So we're going to take the denominator times that whole number, and I'm going to get 12. And then I'm going to add it to that numerator, and we do in fact get 12 plus 2 is 14. Okay, so that's just kind of a refresher. I want to show that again with less stuff around. So if I can do the 1/2 of 8. Let's start with a simple one here, because we know it's 4. So we know 1/2 of 8. 1/2 of 8. I'm going to take, and we're going to we know that is 8 divided into 2 groups. okay? Which I know that that is going to be 4. That one's easy. We know a divided by 2 is 4. I'm going to now do the 1/2 of 9. 1/2 of 9. So I'm going to take 9 and divide it into 2 equal groups, okay? And we said earlier that that was going to be 4 and 1/2, right? 4 and 1/2. So using that process that I had said earlier, I'm going to take my 2 and multiply it with the 4. So my denominator times the whole number. And so 4 times 2 is 8. And then I'm going to add it with that numerator. And we do, in fact, 8 plus 1 is 9. And then we keep that denominator. Okay? And then a refresher. This is something that I've shown before. I can check to, no, that's what I just showed you. I'm sorry, getting off track. I want to show you a different way to do fraction ofs, okay? So we know how to check the improper fraction with the mixed number. Now I want to show you the fraction of. It doesn't always work out great, just like these with these odd numbers, but we still can solve them. So let me do the 1/3 of 12. So when you have a fraction of problem, you can take the 12, and in this one we multiplied when we were checking it. This time you can divide. So we're going to take the whole number divided by the denominator. So 12 divided by 3 equals 4, and that's what we've been doing. And then you're going to take that and multiply it by how many groups you have. So you have 4 in each group, and you have 1 group, giving us 1/3 equals 4. Okay? Because as we move in other chapters, you're going to start working with like 2/3 or 4/5. And so this little trick will come back later. And I just wanted to show you that now before we move on and we can continue using it. So today is just part 2, and it's working with some of those odd numbers. So we know how to evenly divide up those numbers that work out well. Now I want you to divide up numbers, fractions of those odd numbers, practicing what I just showed you on this slide. So I'll do number 1 for you, and it's 1/2 of 5, and I'll do number 2 as well, and then you'll do the rest on your own. So we see here 1/2 of 5. So let me move it, zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to write this out over here. 1/2, and you'll notice I'm just doing a multiplication sign for of, because anytime we hear the word of, so the word of is the same thing. It equals multiplication. So really you're taking a fraction and multiplying it by a whole number. And we know in our standard here, or it says our objective, that we're going to be able to be ready. It's getting ready for multiplying fractions. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So 1/2 of 5. I'm going to use that same thought process. And I'm going to say 5 divided by 2, because I know that's what I would do. I'm going to take my 5 divided by 2, and I know that 2 can go into 5 2 times, and it's going to have 1 left over, so it's going to give me 2.5. So 1/2 of 5 was 2.5. Now number 2, 1/5 of, and the dot again means of, it also means multiplying here. 1/2 of 12. 1/2 of 12. What we're going to do is I'm going to take 12 divided by 5. Okay? We know that cannot go in evenly. That's something we know. It can go close, but it's not quite. So I know 5 can go into 12 2 full times, which is going to give me 10. So I'm going to take 10 out of that, which would result in 2 left over out of 5. So it'd be 2 2/5. Okay? Just to confirm that, I'll show you. So 1/2 of 5 is 5 halves or 2.5. You can have either one. It's just the process of knowing. Number 2, we could get 12/5 or 5. Let's see. 12/5 or 5. And they are drawing pictures to help them with their thinking. So now what I want you to do is try this same process. 1/4 of 2. Remember, you take the whole number divided by the denominator. So this is going to give you an answer. 1/4 of 2. You want to think about, you are taking two things, okay? You're taking two things and you're dividing it into 4 equal groups. So 1/4 of 2 is going to be worth how much of 1? Use that picture to help you think with your thinking. And then what is 1/8 of 6? You're going to take 6 things and divide it into 8 groups. 6 divided by 8. Then we'll come back and we'll do page 1. We'll do the rest of page 108. So pause, do these two problems, and we'll come back. So if you take a look at number 3, it was 1/4 of 2, and they have the same picture that I drew. So you'll see that it is 2 divided by 4, so 2/4, or we know that is 1/2 of 1. And then number 4, the 1/8 of 6, so you're taking 6 things and dividing into 8 groups, so that can give you 6/8, or you could reduce it to 3/4. Okay, so we're just remembering we're taking that whole number and dividing it into groups right now. Now moving on to number 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to do number 5 and then you're going to do number 6. Frederick went to a farmer's market and bought 8 quarts of strawberries. He wants to keep 1/3 of the strawberries and give away the rest. How many quarts of strawberries will he keep? So when I look at this problem, I'm going to go ahead and show you. What we have here is we drew out 8 quarts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we divided each one into thirds and shaded in 1/3. Okay, so then it's asking how many quarts did he keep? So he wants to keep 1/3 and give away the rest. All we're wanting to know is how much did he keep. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we know how much is in 1? 3. So 8/3, or you could say that he kept 2 2/3, because we could say, okay, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would give us 2 2/3 are full. Okay, so again, you want to try to use cubes when you're doing this. So asking yourself, okay, I have 8 quarts, 1/3 of. When you see that word of after a fraction, that's really going to help you know that you need to do a fraction of problem. And then drawing out a picture to help you with the evaluating. Okay, and we can always check this. We can do 2 times 3, which is 6. And then 6 plus 2 is 8, which gives us our 8/3. That's that little trick I've shown you. I apologize for how messy this writing is today. So your job is to pause the video and complete. Shelby has a 4-pound bag of mixed nuts. She wants to put 1/6 of the nuts. So 1/6 of 4 pounds. How many pounds of nuts should she put on each table? So again, 1/6 of a 4-pound bag. This number right here is just connecting to the 1/6 because she wants to put 1/6 of the nuts at each of the 6 snack tables. Don't let those numbers confuse you. That's where that cubes comes in and evaluating the problem. Okay, what numbers are needed? So 1/6 of a 4-pound bag. And then I want you to go ahead and explain how you did number 6. So go ahead and pause the video now and work on that. So on number 6, you can see where we drew out 1, 2, 3, 4. So the big The big rectangles represent the whole pound of a bag, the whole pound bag. So there's one. I'll highlight these in yellow. This pen is very fragile today. It's moving very fast. So you'll see the yellow represents a whole pound. And then you can see that we've divided it by 6. So you can see each table gets 1/2 of a pound, okay? So each table gets a half first, and then they gave them each 1/6. So what they did really was 1/2 plus 1/6. And this is just a strategy. This is not how you had to do it, but you'll see that they did 3/6 plus 1/6. Now it seems to go slow. Is where they got that 4/6 from. The other way you could do it and think through this is just taking 4 divided by 6, okay? 4-pound bag divided by 6 different parts, and you can reduce it. You didn't have to, though. You can leave it. It didn't say to reduce, so you could leave it at 4/6 if you reduced it to 2/3. Way to go. And then explaining how to check that, you could, again, take a look at this. If 2/3 is 1/6, the fourth, then 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 should equal 6/6 of 4, or equal to 4. Because 6/6 of 4 would be just 1/2 of 4. When we add it up, we get 12/3, which is the same as 4. Okay, so you would be able to see you've got 6, 6, 6, and 6. Or you can say 12/3. Okay. Again, this was just part 2 of figuring out the fraction of problems. The main thing I want you to know and remember and understand is that when we have a fraction of, so say we have 1/3 of 12, we are going to take that whole number. We're going to take the whole number and we're going to divide it by the denominator because that's how many parts. And that's going to get us that 1 unit. Moving forward, we'll look at more units. But right now, we're only focusing on taking that whole number and dividing it by how many parts.